All right, what's up, everybody? I'm here today with my good friend Wedo. Basically like a brother to me, this guy. Wedo, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, dude, thanks for being on it, man. This is one I've been excited about doing for quite some time now.
I'm excited too. I really am.
and this is my first one that I've done in a long time, as you know.
Okay.
I probably look all caveman.
Since your last one, you look a little different.
Yeah,
You're bigger. You got more hair. You got more facial hair. Yeah, I like it.
So, ever since I met you, it's kind of been an interesting thing where, like, first I knew Brandon. We went to high school together. And then you're Brandon's brother, of course, and just being around the family and stuff. For some reason, you and I just kind of hit it off. Like brother and me and you just kind of became good friends like that.
It was immediately, I think, man. I don't know what it was, but we gelled from the first time, and it wasn't long after that. We had each other's numbers. We were texting, we were calling, and there was just times, man, where I wasn't going to things, and Brandon would use you against me. He'd be like, I'm gonna have Adam call you, and then you would call, and I'd show up, and then they realized they had to do the same. If you weren't showing up, they'd have me call you, and you'd show up. So yeah, it was cool, man. It was immediately though, we gelled from the get go.
And you'd be kicking my butt in volleyball all the time.
I don't know if that's how it works, man. I'm tiny compared to you, but but yeah, it was cool, man. I think you're a very humble person. I like that about you, and everything that you do it with a genuine heart. So that's really what I like, people like that. You know what I mean? That's we only accept good people into my family, and you're good people. So absolutely. Now you're family. You're not even an outsider or friend. You're the little brother now.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
I appreciate that, man, because I never had an older brother or nothing. So.
It's a lot. I'm a lot sometimes, man. I stay on it. I text people, hey, you doing okay? I double check on everybody, and that's just what a big brother does. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I got two brothers that are littler than me, and then I got some adoptive ones, but that's you. You know what I mean? You're one of them. So.
Thanks,
I take that role very seriously.
No, I definitely appreciate that from you. And speaking of which, Brandon just walked in here, so I want to get him. And Brandon, we only got the one mic, so me and you will pass it back and forth for it. How you doing, man?
What's up, Sizzle? What's going on?
You guys probably remember Brandon from one of the previous podcasts. Me and Brandon have been really good friends since like right out of high school, probably around there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, man.
Like 2019? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Yes, pretty close after high school, me and Brandon became good friends.
Yep.
And actually, now that you're here, the first question I think I want to ask, like official question. So, you and Brandon are pretty close brothers, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's interesting to me because, like, that doesn't always happen like that in families, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the reason I say that is because I have an older sister who's about 7 years older than me, and don't get me wrong, I care for her still and stuff. She's an awesome person. I love her, but we don't really talk or we don't really communicate much. Like we don't have a very close relationship like you and Brandon do. Like where you guys are meeting up on the weekends, stuff like that. You guys hang out pretty often. So what do you guys think about the way your lives are, just the way you guys are built as people? Like, why is it that you guys remain close like that?
To be honest, I'll let him answer as well. I just think it was the way that we were brought up. You know, I think that's a testimony to our parents. You know, I think you and I kind of talked about this in our last episode. In the last episode I was with you, you know, it's just something about like, you know, it's nothing stereotypical at all. It's just like a Hispanic culture brings something different. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
I just think we're really tight-knitted, family-oriented. So that's where I think, you know, we were just raised that way. And, you know, this guy right here, we're 11 years difference, but he never made it feel that way. He was definitely a big brother role. And I think it just, you know, as time went on, you know, it never faded away. And I think it's only gotten stronger. It's kind of weird to like think about it when we were kids, and now, you know, I mean, yes, he's getting older, I'm getting older, we're all getting older, but it's just like weird, man, because like I'm like, dang, I'm his age when I was like in high school, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of weird to think about. And like I'm his age, like when he got married, or I think he might even have been younger. And it's just kind of weird to think about. You know what I'm saying?
A little younger.
As time flies by, but I think to answer your question, not to get off topic, it's just more of the way we were brought up, the way that my mom and dad were very tight knitted. Every family has ups and downs, but I think we've always just stayed true to each other, especially me and this guy. Growing up, I was like, he can probably say this. I was on his hip, bro. Like, okay. What are we doing? What are we doing this weekend? What are we, like, even when he had back in the day, going to hang out with his friends or like any little dates, I'd be like, can I come? Can I come? Can I do this? Can I do that? It was funny. And I can see why now, like, now that I'm grown, my nephew, his son, JJ's the same way. And it's hilarious because I'm like, okay, I can see where it's a little bit of payback, but it's cool. Like, I like it. I kind of like it.
It is full circle.
But I'll let him answer that one too. But that's just kind of like my take on it, to be honest, in my opinion. So,
yeah, 11 years is a lot. I was hitting my preteens there when he was born, and I can't really say because we do have a middle brother where him and I are 2 years apart. So I've been a big brother since I was 2. With Andrew, it was a little different because we did grow up close in age and stuff, and we were wild and reckless, man. But with Brandon, it was real different because Andrew and I really did consume those big brother roles, and it was really nice because we literally got to watch Brandon, obviously not be born, but come home and grow up in front of our eyes, and we have memories of seeing that. I don't, obviously with Andrew being 2 years younger than me, I can't remember watching him grow up from a certain age, but I can remember the first time I saw Brandon, first time Brandon ever came home, to the first time I ever helped my mom and dad take care of him. So it was a little different just because of the age difference. But yeah, when I got to be old enough, I was coaching him with my dad, and it was all the time. I had him and I had a bunch of his teammates, man. There was actually one point, this is a true story, I actually had to go and get myself a bigger car because Brandon and all his friends wanted to be with just me. And I mean, I think I got a 6-seater where I can fit 5 kids, and we piled some kids in that car, man, because they all just wanted to be with Brandon. Brandon wanted to be with me. So it's kind of, I don't know, it was just a natural thing. And even till this day, we may not talk on the phone every day, but we talk every other day on the phone. We text each other every day. And then we hang out, and so it's a blessing. It really is, because, he's going to make some changes in his life here soon. And some of these things we're going to look back and this is what we're going to have to remember. You know what I mean? So
I think like the last thing to speak on that, it's like a full circle moment, kind of funny, right? Because like I said, like his son, but now like all of his kids, I swear, we go to an event. Can I go with Brandon? Can I go with Brandon? Can I go with Brandon? And he'll look at me and he'll laugh. He's like, you see how it used to be? Like, this is how it used to be when you were younger. So he's like, you gave him your get back. And I don't mind it, I think it's cool. But it is kind of funny to like see it. Because, yeah, anytime we're somewhere, whether we're at a family function, a restaurant, just somewhere, and then, right away, can I go with Brandon? Can I go with Brandon?
Yep.
I got to make sure to keep moving my car now just because, like, I'm not going to lie, like, I'll expose myself a little bit. Sometimes I get my car, like, I just live through my car sometimes, and I have all kinds of stuff in there. So when we're going to events, I have to, like, move things around just because I already know 3 or 4 of them are coming with me. So.
Yeah. How he looked at me is how my son looks at him, for sure. That is definitely a full circle thing. Brandon just was always on my hip, and now my son is constantly on Brandon's hip.
Yeah.
And it's just, honestly, it's a beautiful thing because there's just genuine love there. That's what it is. You know what I mean?
So, like, I remember whenever I was younger, my older sister and some of my cousins, they were they were like, about 7 maybe to 9 years older than me or so.
Mhm.
And it's like on my mom's side. I remember they used to entertain me like that too, kind of thing, where like they would like hang out with me sometimes and stuff. But I would always had this, even from a young age, I had like the notion and knowledge that like they're older than me and they don't always like hanging out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, sometimes you bug because you're the younger cousin, younger sibling.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way with Brandon? And Brandon, do you feel that sometimes with the youngsters now, kind of thing, or is it?
Man, that.
To be honest, like, no. I think he can probably say no too. Like, as much as sometimes I think he wanted to go do, like, hang out with his friends or, like, go hang out with someone as we were younger. I feel like this guy always made time for me. And I think, like, it's same thing with JJ, his son. They give me crap, like, but I do have a soft spot. I'll be like, nah. But then, like, I'll get to talking with JJ. I'm like, all right, like, let's do it, like, because there is sometimes, we're just like, we're not in the mood. We don't want, but I feel like once you hear from that person, or like, even though there's the age gap, like, there's just some certain people that tug your heart a little bit. And I think I did that for him. And like you said, now it's full circle. His son does that for me. Like, I'll be like, nah. And then like I talk to him and I'm like, all right, let's do it. Or like, yeah, all right, we're cool. Like,
yeah. I don't have any. I don't remember any times where, even when I was going through teenage years and I was rebelling and I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff, my memory is I always had time for him. I never left him out. But again, what he said, it goes back to how we were raised. We were raised to be close, tight knit, and that's how all three of us brothers were raised, and that's how all three of us, I believe, perceive our lives now. So it really wasn't. It really wasn't anything different for me to include him, and if I could take him with me, I would. When I started driving, all he wanted to do was go with me, and I would take him. Him and Andrew were my passengers, you know what I mean? It was just us three. And that was it, man. That's how we grew up. Sometimes we didn't even need a destination. We'd just get in the car and go. And it was just us three cruising and listening to music and making memories. That's what it was, So no.
You know what? That actually makes another question come to my mind here. Me and Brandon talked a little bit about music in the last podcast, and actually, like in hindsight, I wanted to talk a little more about that. Maybe in another one that we do sometime, Brandon, we should do that. But one question that comes to my mind right now: how much influence did this guy's music growing up have on your music today? Would you say, like, is that a thing for you, or is that not really like?
No, I'll say yeah. I mean, because I used to be with him most of the time, so like we listen to like rap music, hip hop music, R&B. That was like the main thing, So I guess growing up, I wanted to be like them, be cool and things like that. And he'll say it, man, like, growing up, we're a little rebellious, things like that. I used to think, I would be like, I want to be like you guys,
Yeah.
So like I grew into that. Obviously, growing up, like as I got older, I would say like, my knack for like, hip hop, rap music, definitely came from them, just because like I was hanging out with them all the time. And, but yeah, no, the music thing is cool. I know, like I was telling you about something earlier, and I know we can talk about that more. But I think, as I'm making changes in my life, if I ever do something like that, I'm going to do it by myself. I kind of like to have freedom, independency. I don't want to like rely on something else. Like if I'm ever going to do something like that, we'll see though, man, because I have a lot of changes coming up, so music's not on the top of the priority list, but it's something I've always liked to do. Obviously, you guys know we've all had some fun doing it sometimes. So, but I would say he definitely had some influence on me for sure, because I was always with them, and it was always playing.
I get text messages today that he sends me a screenshot of a Spotify song that he's like, remember this one? And it was one that used to be one of my favorite songs back in the day. So it still lives through, and then when I'm cruising with him, he has a Spotify list, and he just lets it go. Like I remember these songs. You know what I mean? It takes me back because I don't do rap music anymore. I'm not really into that. So it takes me back a little bit. And he's like, remember this, and so it's cool, man. And then his music that he listens to, again, it goes full circle. My son will jam whatever he's playing by himself, even when they're not together. So it's cool, man. Yeah.
And that's definitely one of the reasons I asked the question, because I was like, I know for sure Brandon has influenced your children's music choice.
Yeah, you ask any of my 4 kids, man, they want to listen to Uncle Brandon's music, and I don't hate it, because I'm a fan. I think he's really good at it. So it doesn't do anything. But my youngest girl, my goodness, hey, can we put on B Sizzle? Can we, and she knows all these words, man. And it's funny because she's only 5, and she's rocking. I'd say besides my son, that's probably his biggest fan right there. Can we listen to your music? And it's cool. It's cool to see.
Oh no, I know she can sing like the whole verses.
She does, man. It's awesome. It really, it's a cool thing to see. It really is.
So, speaking of the music thing, you just said you want to do it by yourself, kind of thing. Like, what exactly do you mean by that? Is that like no record label? Does that mean like no, like no more kind of like casually including random people in the raps, or what?
Not randomly including people. I won't disclose kind of like what I had told you a couple months ago, but I kind of went through that experience, and it was legit, everything like that. But like, it just felt like I was gonna give someone else control, if that makes sense. Okay. And I was, they wanted me to pour into like all these funds, but there was nothing ever written in stone, and it just didn't feel right to me, because I met the person, things like that. I don't have no ill will, I really don't. But I guess, and again, I make music for fun. It's a hobby, things like that. But like, I don't really know a whole lot about the music industry. I really don't. Like, I would have to educate myself more, things like that, if that's something I ever wanted to pursue or do. But I think like if I did do it, like I want to do it to where I have control. I can feature who I want to feature. Like, even when we used to just have fun back in the day, like I want to do it with people that I enjoy to do it with. Instead of like, having someone at the helm, and if I'm giving them all these funds and then I have to wait, I can't release, or I can't, send you guys this because it's it's an issue, a legal issue. I guess I just don't want to deal with things like that. You're good, John. I don't want to deal with things like that. Because it's fun. It's a hobby, but I don't think I'm ever going to be like some big old hip hop artist, like that's out there that blows up, like I do it more for fun, it's a hobby type thing. So I think if I do it, I don't want to take it so serious like a job. I'd rather do it for fun, because I think that's honestly when I do it the best. When I was trying to figure out some things with what I was doing there, like I'm not gonna lie, like I was getting writer's block. It just felt more like a job. It didn't feel like I was enjoying it as much as was to where when we just used to have fun, I could just go, you know what I'm saying? So I just think like I would take a different approach to it. That's kind of like, I guess, what I'm saying when it comes to that.
Yep.
So, and if not, just let me know. Is it okay if I disclose it without saying any names? Like kind of like what you're referring to there? Or?
Yeah, I wouldn't say the name, but like, yeah, you can disclose what was going on. Yeah, that's fine.
So, and correct me if I get any of this wrong, but like, basically one of our old favorite artists, like that we grew up listening to, like like we listened to that guy so much. He was an awesome artist. You and him basically had like a interaction via, was it Instagram DMs or something like that?
Yeah, it was Instagram DMs, and then we ended up, talking on the phone, getting his number, things like that. It was actually kind of weird that he called me, and I realized that voice right away, and I was like, whoa! I was like, is this really? Yeah, bro. So like, I heard that voice, and I'm like, am I getting punked right now? Am I getting scared? Like, what's going on, bro? And no, like I actually met him in person and everything. And again, I don't have no ill will. It's just like I felt like he was trying to move really fast. And for someone like me who's never been in that type of world, I'm like, you got to understand where I'm coming from. And that's what I kind of told him. I'm like, you got to understand where I'm coming from. Like, this is your life. This is what you've done your whole life. And he said that. This is not something I've done my whole life. Like, yes, I write music, things like that. But, like, I'm just like all of us, man, like living a normal life, like, you know, going about my day. I kind of do that on the side. It's fun. And when you're asking me to kind of throw in a lot of what I'm trying to save and like a lot of like, you know, because like I said, music has always been like a hobby to me. You know, I have different things in mind and goals in mind. I wasn't ready to just throw all that into like a music career. I didn't even want to try that. And again, it felt like I wasn't going to have a lot of control on when things were going to get released or things were going to do. Like, you know, it didn't feel right to me. As much as like, you know, I appreciated meeting him. It was cool. It just didn't feel right. I don't think, honestly, like I can be a perfectionist at times, and I just don't think I would have put out the best what I could have put out if I was under what I was going through with him.
Right.
So that's why I think more of for me is like, if I'm ever going to do the music type of stuff, I kind of want to do it my way. Again, I don't think I'll ever blow up or something like that. You never know. But I think I'd rather do it where I'm just more comfortable in my own environment, doing it with the people that I already know. I feel like that's just going to be, I'd rather put out a better product and less people here than he's like, oh, well, you know, you're going to get this and this amount of views. I'm like, yeah, but like, I just didn't feel like I was putting out my best product, you know, and I don't feel like they would have heard the true me of what, like, you know, I'm able to do. So it was a hard decision. I'm not gonna lie, like you said, he is one of our favorite artists, so it was a hard decision to leave because I just kind of left and told him like I'm not doing this. You know, because he was like my favorite, and I don't have no ill will, but at the same time, I'm just like, it taught me like if I do want to do something like that, I want to do it my way.
Yep.
Do it with the people that I know. Do it with the people I'm comfortable with. Because when I do it with the people I'm comfortable with, like, you know, like you said, we got his little 5-year-old always rapping. My little nephew, biggest fan. You know, like it's just a fun thing to do. Like when we're together.
Yeah, it is.
And I'd rather do something like that and be the best I can be with that. And it may not get nearly as much views or people hear it as much, but I'd rather do that and it's my best work than all kinds of people hearing something that's maybe not the best or mediocre, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And as the older brother, Wedo, how do you feel about that decision that he made there?
Well, when he told me what was going on, I believe I did offer that same advice. Make sure you read everything. Don't sign anything. Make sure everything makes sense to you. This guy is a lot smarter than me when it comes to that stuff. So my only advice is don't sign everything right away. You know, weigh your options, and he did that. So I think he made the right decision because it's easy to want to chase, you know, fame and whatever you're hoping for, money. I don't know, you know, what other people do, but it's easy to want that and chase it. But I agree. You know, if you can't put out the best version of yourself in your truest form, then you're just lying to you know, your fans and stuff. And believe it or not, I mean, his music that he puts out now, I mean, with you and I included on it, like, everybody likes it, and it was fun. It's fun to do, and I think it brings out a different side of him, which I think is the true Brandon, and I'll take that over any day than seeing him, you know, up on stage with other rappers and stuff like that. I'll take that here when we just do a little studio thing, you know what I mean? So I think he made the right decision. Honestly, he did. So that was it. You know, I'm glad, I'm happy with what he decided to do.
And actually, one thing I wanted to ask you too, B, is so we had a mutual friend that, you know, a little bit of a falling out with at one point, and he was the one that basically did all the technical side of the music stuff that we were doing there, and like, you know, it was only like the few songs we made and stuff, but you know, it was still cool though, because there's like there was like it almost felt like we had like a little bit of like a producer or something like that in the group.
Yeah.
In the future, since this is like a hobby that you enjoy, this is like something that, you know, it's a kind of like, you know, like to me, it's an art form. I like, you know, think of it like that.
Yeah, it is.
Do you think that at some point you might try to teach yourself the things that he knew? Because And the reason I asked is because I don't think the gap was actually that big. Like I think that like realistically you could probably pick it up and learn the things that he was like, get to the level that he was at that time relatively quickly, I think. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree with that. I do.
I do too. I actually told him before this whole music thing had happened with, one of the guys that we like. I told him, like, you know what? I think like it's something, I think that's the next step. Like I'd want to learn, and I think it'd be fun to learn, to be honest. I was learning a few things with him when, he was doing it. Obviously he was he had been doing it for a while and been studying it a lot. But I picked up on a few things. I'm like, okay, like I think that's something that like, and there's a lot that goes into it. People think like, oh, they just sit behind a computer. There's a lot that goes into like doing that type of stuff. So I think if I'm, I think once I settle and, the new position that I'm gonna put myself in and do, and I have more time, I think it's something that I definitely want to pick up. Like I said, I'd rather do it myself in that sense, and I don't have no legal rights to this beat or that beat, or like, you have to pay for this or that, because, a lot of the technical stuff he was doing, like it'd be on stuff that like, we didn't technically even, like we didn't make those beats, you know what I'm saying?
Got it, yeah.
So like, I would really love to get into that side of it. I will say like right now, the position I'm in, like that's not my first priority is like to start my own music thing or anything like that. I would love to do it in the future maybe. I got some other things I'm working on right now, but yeah, no, definitely. I like what you said there, because I actually mentioned that to him it was earlier this year, that like, you know what, like I'd rather do it like myself and like just learn it myself, because obviously, the writing part, the cadences, different things like that, that's fun. And I think like, I can still get better at it, but I've gotten that part down. But I would love to learn the technical side of it, and to where like, ooh, I can adjust it to like, oh, this cadence would sound sick on that type of beat, so let me try to do like, I would love to implement things myself instead of like, there's great engineers out there, but at the same time, like I'm having to adjust to them to where I can adjust to myself. And I feel like that'd be sick, like, so I'd love to do it. I've even told him about that. Like I picked up on some things on it. I will say I'm not even close to like an expert or knowing, but it's something that definitely like I would love to do in the future, just so that way, again, like I said, I'd rather put out something that maybe only my friends or my family or my close-knit like, community knows, than putting everything out there to where they're like, who's this, or this ain't that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'd rather have like my own little twist or my own little flair to it. I'd rather it be that way than it like being controlled for me. So that's what I learned from that whole experience. And then kind of just from like what you're saying, there's I want to learn that side, to where, if I want to put, even you, just like, for example, or even him, like I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? And then you're like, hey, like maybe we can tweak this a little bit. And it'd be great to know that, so that way I can tweak it to someone who I have, or someone who I'm including in a song. I can include it and I can put their own twist to it. You know what I'm saying? So I think definitely down the line, I would love to get more technical with it and learn. It's kind of funny that you brought that up, because I literally mentioned that to him about like
we had talked about
earlier
that.
this year.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool that you brought that up.
Yeah, it's the right way to go.
Well, and it's kind of funny, like the likelihood that one person in a family ends up like making rap music is like pretty low already, right?
Yeah.
But the fact two people, because like if you don't mind me bringing this up, you at one point made rap music as well, right?
Yeah.
So you down to talk a little bit about that?
I can. Yeah.
I haven't really gotten to hear your full story about it. I haven't really gotten to hear much details about it.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was probably about 15, 16. No, I was a troublemaker, man. I was not doing many good things, and I was hanging around with the wrong crowd and getting involved in the bad stuff. And so my parents ended up having me move away to go live with my grandparents, to go to like a school for troublemakers, And there at that school, I met a couple of people that were into this rap thing, and so we came up with a name. I had a computer in my room, and we had a little beat up mic, and we did things really ghetto. It was a really ghetto setup, but it worked. And we would just rap. And I had never done it before, but when I started doing it, I kind of felt like, okay, I think I got the hang of this, And, we would show, like when we were at school, we would freestyle, and all these other kids would want to just do it and stuff. And I realized that I was okay with it, and then I got, I got on we made a couple of tracks, and we didn't have any idea what we were saying, bro. It was really, I was talking about things that I had no idea what was, but it sounded, back in the day, you were trying to be hardcore, you were trying to be gangster, and and that's what it was. It was just music that was just at that time I felt like I needed to say, but I had fun doing it, and I don't know if it exists anywhere. I have been told that I have a family member that has a CD. No. But it might be buried somewhere, so he's like, I gotta find it. I don't know if it exists, but the group that I was with, I don't talk to them anymore. But yeah, I did some rapping in my time, man, and I wasn't nearly as good as this guy for sure. I think he got the real talent there, but it was fun. And then when he started doing it, I was like, cool. I was done, man. I was past that in my life. I'm older for that. I don't want to do it. And then you were one of them. He was one of them, and a bunch of other dudes were like, well, just rap, Weddle. I'm like, I'm good, man. I'm done. That's not part of my life anymore. And then you guys convinced me and had a little help with writing to get started, did a song, and then I started writing again, and I'm like, man, I thought I was done with this. So, but I enjoy it. It's actually like a therapy for me. I actually still write things down in my phone. I just type it up in the little note section, and I just write what I'm sensing at that time. And I mean, will I ever put it in a song? I don't know, but I write it. I jot it down just because that's where my brain has been for last couple of years, thanks to you guys. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was. We didn't have a clue what we were doing, man. No clue.
I'm glad you brought up the CD thing, because I was wondering, I was going to ask, like, is there any archives of this out there somewhere?
Oh man. Back in that time, there was a whole new type of social media that doesn't exist now, and that people my age will remember. And some of the songs, I believe, were on that social media page and stuff, and I can't remember.
MySpace?
Huh?
MySpace?
No, what was it?
AOL?
There was MySpace.
It was MySpace, yeah. And the thing is we went hardcore into this, man. We were like, we're doing our own record label. We had planned to plan a beef between us. We weren't gonna beef, but we were planning a beef so we can make solo projects, so our fans can kind of bring us in together again to sell more. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just jumping forward. We were gonna start our own record label. We were gonna branch out and do separate record labels, and it was just the mind of a 16-year-old, that has a lot of emotions, that wanted to get it out and didn't have a clue. And I mean, I still remember the name that we used to call ourselves, and back in the day, it was so cool. And then I look back and I'm like, dang, man, we were corny as hell. You know what I mean?
What was the name?
Oh man, we were called the Documents.
The Documents.
Yeah, and so to shorten it, we were called the DOCs. So
Damn.
like,
Okay, I love it.
And then we were like trying to come up with some names, like we each had individual names. And then we were trying to think of like a record label name, and we came up with a record label name. And what did we call it? Soldier Line Records.
Soldier Line Records.
Those are the things that were like in that day. That was what was, so yeah, it was a long time ago. And believe it or not, my wife and I, we've known each other for a lot of years. She was actually friends with these guys too, and she used to tell, oh, you guys, what the hell are you guys doing? You know, so because we used to think we were the stuff, you know, and then word got around that we were doing rap, and we used to have people come up to us like, do you guys have a studio? We're like, no, we have a computer, we have a beat up mic, and believe it or not, man, I had a dresser that had a top drawer, and I stick the mic in there so it stand, and I can stand right there. That's how ghetto it was, you know. I'm like, it's not professional. They're like, well, we want to come over and record a verse, and I'm like, you know, like, okay, cool. We thought, oh, this is awesome. We're gonna hit it big, you know.
Dude, yeah,
this is, you know, I was young. This is our fame. This is how we're gonna get rich, you know, and that kind of burnt out pretty quick, man, because grew up a little bit, and I'm like, what the hell was I doing? You know what I mean?
The DOCs represented
yeah, see?
So
You know,
what was your rap name?
Huh?
What was your rap name?
Oh,
Do you remember?
God, I do.
You gotta say it.
Damn, man. Shady Loke.
Shady Loke. Let's go. I mean,
We had-
that's not any worse than
Dude.
Adam Ball.
Damn, dude. You know,
That's what I was running
one of the guys that, like, we started with 3, and then one eventually kind of phased out, so it was just like a duo, and his name was Slick Dro. So it was dope, and he was really talented for sure. Like, he had that music gene for sure. So he did a lot of like the beats and the producing, and then I did more of the lyrics and stuff. But yeah, it was fun. We had fun. Like, it was a fun little ride that we did, and we did do a CD. And so when we go cruising in his car, we have the CD, and we're playing our own stuff, thinking we're the coolest thing ever, you know. And then, you know, I had a little cousin that I started like trying to help teach him, because he wanted to rap too, and so I nicknamed him. He started writing, and then he told me not too long ago. He actually told my wife not too long ago that he has the CD. He just has to find it, and I'm like, if that's true, then that's the only CD probably to exist,
Dude.
because I don't talk to the other guy anymore. You know what I mean?
The only archive record.
The only archive record that exists. And again, what if you ever hear that CD, you'd be like, what the hell are they talking about? What, that does not sound like Wedo now, because it's not. But back in the day, you know, I used to think I was hardcore, and I just, you know, so it was fun. It really was. And we were too stupid, too young, but we dreamed big, and you know, we got to do it. I mean, that's at the end of the day, we got to record some music. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
And like, I'm gonna get a little philosophical here, all right?
Okay.
Like, it might sound a little corny, but so one thing that this makes me think of, and I don't know exactly how to say this, but there are things like that are fun to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even something like this YouTube channel, like everybody, there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to hate. There's always going to be somebody out there that's going to judge you, right? Even when we look back on the songs that B and you and I made, like sometimes, you know, like don't show them, you know, because I'm a little embarrassed about it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's this weird thing where I feel like if you let the judgment of others stop you from doing those type of things,
Mm-hmm.
it just, I don't know, there's something about that just leaves a bad feeling in
Right.
me, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because even though it is corny, you know, even though at the same time it's something you enjoy, you know, it's something it's like,
Yeah.
and whether it's corny or not, it is like you expressing some form of art, you know what I mean? Like it, I don't know how to even say it. Like what about that? Like, do you guys also get that like feeling where it's like, if you don't do that, like anytime that you don't do something because you're worried about what other people think you're are going to think about it or going to judge about it, or, but it's something you genuinely like. Like when you don't do it, does it feel like a little part of you inside kind of dies a little bit? Like I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little.
No, you know, going from that kind of music to what we've done now, really, really different. And you know, would I be a little embarrassed to hear you guys, you know, hear those old records? Yeah, probably, because again, that was the younger version of me. That's when I was angry at the world. That's when I was a part of things that I probably shouldn't have been a part of, and stuff. And even if you guys tell me, oh man, you know, like that's not too good. That's okay, because back when it was happening, it was fun. We did, and I used to roll around with my head held high because I'm like, I'm one of these people that are actually doing it. Like, people are asking me to come record with me, and they've heard me rap just a little bit and things like that. So I think it is like that. Like, even now when I listen to the music that we've made, I'm like, cool, but I'm almost 40, so the hell is a 40-year-old rapping for? You know what I mean? Like, but it's cool, like I genuinely enjoy what we did. I had a lot more fun doing that than when I was younger, for sure. But it is what it is, man.
No, I think I get like what you're trying to notion towards. Even then, right? Like when I was telling you about like what I was gonna do with the other person, I can't even lie. Like, there's a part of me that has grown up to the sense of, oh, I don't care what people think. But then there's another part of me, like, if I'm gonna go public with something, like, I want to put out the best possible thing I can. A part of me was like, I don't feel like this is my best work, and if I show this to people, I think I'm gonna care on like what they think. You know what I'm saying? So,
but I think it's important too, because what you always want to put out the best version of yourself, but sometimes when you have that little not as confident as maybe before, people really gravitate to that, and I think it's important because what Brandon's saying is like, he didn't do that move, and that's cool because he wants to do it for himself. But when you have the talent to do it, some people, yes, whatever they do, they may hate whatever. That's going to be part of anything you do in life. But man, when you have that talent, natural talent, because I don't have that talent that he does musically. I don't have it. But when you have it, your maybe not best is better than a lot of people's best. And sometimes you do need to take advantage of that. Sometimes you do need to embrace that, because some people wish they could do what you did on that level at that time, or in your cases, some of the songs that you just freestyled through or wrote right away within a couple of minutes. You know what I mean? Like, that has to be something you got to be proud of. And that might not have been your best freestyle, but people can relate to it. There's people that genuinely like it because it's you coming straight from your head. I think it's kind of just what you take from it. You know what I mean? But
no, yeah. I agree. But I think there also comes a certain point to where, kind of like what you said, right? Like, I think people can tell when it's your best work or not your best. Like, we can even tell that with, generational artists now. Like, we listen to some old songs or some new songs now. You're just like, dang, that hits.
Yeah.
And then the next song plays, you're like, like, this ain't the worst thing I've heard, but it definitely ain't his best.
Right.
I think, like, for me specifically, obviously I ain't anything like those people. I'm just some local guy who does some music stuff sometimes, but just compared to like what we did and then what I was trying to do with the other guy, like, I felt like when we were doing it, I had a certain type of, may sound corny, but like a certain type of swagger to myself where I was just like, ooh, like, yeah, I'm feeling this, I'm hitting this, for to sure. Where when I was trying to do it with the other guy, I was just like, I was really struggling just to put like, words in my head and words out there that I was just like, and I eventually made like 4 songs that like I was gonna do out there with him. But again, I took the route to where I was like, you know what, like, I don't want to invest all this money in, and again, like you said, don't sign anything, right? But at the same time, there was nothing being put out there.
Yeah.
They wanted me to give them money without anything written. And they're like, well, you just got to trust us. I'm like, excuse me, like, yes, like, you may be one of my favorite artists. Yes, you may be well known, but like, I don't know you like that. Right. Like, I don't know you like that.
Nope.
And yeah, and it like I said, like, it was legitimately him. I met him, like, they wanted to do a photo shoot, everything. And I was just like, it just didn't feel right. And I have to thank my partner for that too, because she was there with me, and she's really good at reading people. She's better than me at reading people. Like, she's really good. Like, she can get a knack for like, oh, this person is the end. She's almost every time she's right. So once she had that feeling, I was like, okay, like, I trust her. And I was already having the feeling myself too. I was really uneasy about it. But once she I'm so glad that she was there with me, because I think if I went out there by myself, I think I would have just taken the bait. And who knows? It may have been great. It may have worked out. It may have done this, but again, I just didn't feel comfortable with it. I didn't feel like I had that swagger when I was out there, and even when I was gonna go record and do all this stuff, I just didn't have that same energy that I had when we were just doing it by ourselves and having fun with it. And that's where I think I wanted to stop too. Is I didn't feel like it was gonna be fun. I felt more of I have to do this as a job, as a duty, and you never know. We might just put something out there in the next year or two, and it might just blow up, and it could become a job. But I'd rather, like I said earlier in the podcast, I'd rather do it on my own terms, where I have the control, instead of where someone just wants me to sign this right away or give them this money, but I have to wait on them. I have to wait on them to do this and do that. I just felt trapped almost in a way. And again, I don't have no beef towards it. It's just, it taught me in the sense of I'd rather do it myself. I'd rather do it on my own terms, because I don't want to be controlled or feel like I can't do this or that when I'm the one who's putting in the hours to write in the music, if that makes sense.
And see, and what Adam had said, people are going to hate. People are going to say, if I was in your position, I would have taken that. I would have done that. Oh, hell, I'm going to sign right on the line. I'm going to do a photo shoot. I'm going to give them all the music that I can. And there's nothing jot in stone. They don't know how that's going to work out because they're not in that position. Do you know what I mean? And people can hate on that decision. People can support that decision. And it is what it is, man. You're not going to please everybody, no matter what decision you do make. That's one of those things that my dad has taught me that. My dad has said, I don't know if you remember this saying that he has. My dad's like a philosopher. Once you meet him, you understand. He's a wise man. So he used to tell me when I was young, he goes, you can have the most perfect stone or the most perfect diamond. Million people tell you it's perfect, and then that one person comes along and says, no, that's not the most perfect diamond I've ever seen. And he goes, you're always going to have somebody that just doesn't like it. And I won't repeat what he says after that, but he's like, screw him. You know what I mean? And so that's one of those things. But I really do. I think he made the right decision. I think honestly, when we get inside, all of us are in a musical little area. I like what we do. I mean, we do some crazy stuff. And don't let Adam fool y'all. Yeah, he fitness. That man got some bars on him too. Don't let him sit here and be humble the whole time. That man can spit some lyrics. Yes, so we give all the credit to Brandon for sure, but Adam's not. He's just being quiet back there. That man knows his way around some lyrics himself. So,
well, it's funny too, because I remember after recording on those nights, I would go home and I'd just oh man, that was so corny. That was so I was just oh man, I hope it doesn't put that out kind of thing. But then when we listen back on it now, I'm like it's a different feeling where I'm this is actually surprisingly better than I thought it was. You know what I mean? At the time, it was and I'm not saying we were spitting we weren't producing at the level that music that we listen to, right? Nobody's listening to music. It was fun, and listening back, I'm okay, this is actually a little bit better than I thought it was.
Yes. The first song that we made, man, I couldn't wait for him to be done. I think it took a couple of days. No, it took about a day and a half, roughly. And then he finally sent it to everybody. He sent it to us, to my parents, my wife. He sent it to everybody. And I remember everybody's like, oh my God, that is crazy. And you're listening to it and you're like, that's pretty badass, man. I'm on a song. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it was fun. And then, we made, 3 other songs?
No, bro, we made, let's see. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I think with all of us together, I think we made 3.
I think we made 3.
We made 3, and then me and the mutual friend we had that we don't really talk to at all anymore. Him and I had 4 or 5 additional songs, 3, yeah. unfortunately, I won't ever release those, because I have no relations with him anymore. So like, I'm not going to just release something that he's on and then like, I don't know. But I don't know, man. It was fun listening back into it, and then like, that's the thing, right? Like, I've never actually, and that's the thing, like, I'll say here is like, I've actually never officially released anything on like Spotify or like SoundCloud or things like that, because I didn't want to just be like one of those. Don't get me wrong, I'm not hating, but like, I didn't want to just be like another one of those SoundCloud rappers. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I've heard those, and like, I just didn't want to be like that. I'm more of like like I said, a perfectionist. So like, if I'm gonna release something, I want it to be more authentic, more cool.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll hopefully do in the future. Someone ever hits me up from here and like they're like, hey, send me a song. I'll send you something. I just don't have it released, or it's all in my files. It really is. It's just I don't have it on no platforms like SoundCloud or Spotify or anything like that. So, and that's like just a short note to bring up, like, when I was going to do the music thing with that guy, is he was actually really shocked because like I sent him stuff that I've written and he's like, you don't have anything released. I was like, no, nothing. Like, I've never actually put it out there before. And so I think he was really on that in the sense of like, oh, like, since you know me and like, you know how famous I am. He's not like the most famous guy, but he's well known. He was like, we're going to get this big. We're going to do this big. And that's where, again, like he said, like, yeah, maybe, someone who was in my position been like, you're crazy for leaving or you're crazy for doing this. But just a little bit more of a backstory. That's not like, music is a hobby and it's great and it's fun. It's something to release. But I wouldn't say like music is my passion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not doing music to like be the next Drake, the next J. Cole. Like, no, I'm not doing it for that. Like, it's more of a fun hobby type thing. And it's something I definitely still want to do. Like, it's something that's great. It's fun. But I wouldn't say like that's my long-term goals to be some type of rap or hip hop artist. It's really not. It's more of a hobby. It's more of like fun. And again, like I said, like when it felt more like a job, I felt like I lost that swagger to it. I'd rather keep it in the sense of like, you know what, it's a hobby. It's fun. Hopefully, in the future I can release some stuff and it'd be cool. But I never thought of it in the sense of like, oh, like I have to make it. Because there is some people that are in the music industry that will say like, oh, like I had to do this. And that's fair. Like, they had to do it for their family, for their loved ones, things like that. I feel like for me, like it's fun, but like I didn't have to do the music things to get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still doing things in my life that I'm really proud of and that like I'm focusing more on right now. Then like, I have to make this music thing or else I'm never going to get out or I'm never going to do this. And, I think some people who put out a lot of good product out there in the music industry had to do it that way. As to where myself, like I'm fine without the music, I hope to keep on doing it, but I will be okay if I never had to do music again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have other things in mind in my life that I'm focusing on, growing on, so maybe I just wasn't the right guy for it, and again, people can call me crazy. Oh, you had that opportunity, but I just wasn't, it just wasn't the right fit. And that's the thing, like, people don't realize, a lot of people who are hating don't realize sometimes, like, if you go to, and it could not just be music, it could be life. Sometimes you're just not the right fit, whether it's relationships, friendships, different things, a job. Maybe you just don't fit in with those coworkers. Maybe you just don't fit in with this group, so I just don't think it was the right fit for me. And I want to feel comfortable. I want to feel like, if I'm going to, put my heart into this or do something, whether it's music, whether it's sports, whether it's just my job, daily life, I want to feel good knowing that I have that group of people with me and I feel comfortable with them, rather than trying to force it and it's not going to be the best to your abilities, if that made sense. Sorry, I rambled on a little bit there, but I feel like that's kind of how I felt on it, to be honest.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that makes sense to me. Another thing that, like, I guess that's going through my mind a little bit right now is, you mentioned some people in the music industry will basically need it to work. Like for a lot of people, it seems like that's like a big thing to drive them to do big things, Like, I mean, a lot of rappers in different songs will be like, like like they'll basically insinuate that they had no other choice but to make it big because they were living in such a terrible like condition before that.
Right.
It was like I was listening to that one MGK Juice World cover that he did with like the Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yeah,
you remember that one?
I do remember.
And he said something like in 7th grade, I didn't have a bed. I had to share why I go so hard for I got out of there kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like that's what like basically insinuating that's why he went so hard is because he had to make some money and do some things, right? It's interesting how all three of us sitting here are like a little bit more on the boring end of that spectrum in terms of like what's important to us. Like,
Right.
like all three of us here, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I get this definite vibe because and honestly, I don't think you guys would be in my life if I didn't have this vibe with you. I think for us, the biggest values are like family, like the people we love,
Yep.
friends, like, you know, like it's like a people oriented thing, right? Which to a lot of people, like, you know, like especially when you get on social media, like,
Right.
you know, a lot of people think that's boring. A lot of people think that that's like settling somehow, like it's like lame.
Yeah.
Yet, to me at least, that's the coolest thing in life. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that's like the reason I'm doing all of the personal training stuff, and the reason I'm doing even the YouTube channel, the Instagram, all that stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I have a passion for that stuff, but to me, it's like ultimately a means towards an end where I can actually be somebody that can provide for a family. Like, I want to be like you someday, Widow. Like, I want to be able to. I'm not even kidding, dude. Like, I want to be a father. I want to have kids. Like, I want to have a wife. Like, I want to do that stuff. Like, that to me is like the ultimate goal.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas, like, and then part of me is like this whole business would work out so much better and quicker if the ultimate goal is the business itself. You know what I mean? Like if everything in my life depended on the business succeeding, and like that's the number one thing,
Right.
I probably would be further along with it than I am right now.
Right.
But because it's like ultimately that's the means to the end of having the family and stuff.
Yeah.
What makes people like that? Why are we like this?
That's a great point, bro.
Yeah.
You go first, bro.
I'll tell you right now, because this is conversations that I've had with each of you on this topic. I am married, almost 13 years. I have 4 kids. My life is busy in general, and so when we get a little bit of time to go ahead and do those rap records, that's awesome. I take advantage of that. My wife lets me do it. My kids are involved. So in the end, it's something that I'm doing, but the family is still a part of it. With this whole fitness thing that we're on with you, Adam, I honestly feel like I know what your end game is. Your end game is to have the wife, have the kids and stuff. But this fitness thing is part of that path. It's part of your journey. You're building a brand. And before you can have, in my opinion, I don't know everything. But before you want to have that wife and have those kids, you want to be able to have a steady foundation. And this platform, this fitness platform that you have, it can put you there. And I believe it will. Because I wish I would have had that notion when I was growing up, because I did things the hard way. I did things the most difficult way you can think of. And I've learned and I paid my dues, and that's why it lets me have as much knowledge as I do on the subject. But the end game, we all want that, but this is part of your guys' journey. You guys are building your guys' selves, and I am extremely proud of that because I get to be a part of it. I get to witness what you're building. I've witnessed what you're capable of musically, and now you're moving on to the next phase. But that doesn't mean that your phase you're not on the next phase. You are. You got the fitness, you got the platform, you got the social medias. That's what it takes. You know what I mean? So for someone like me, I did it the hard way, and my advice to my younger brothers is don't do it. There's things that you can learn from me that are good and follow my footsteps. Cool. But there's other things that I want you to go and make your own path. Learn from me, but then say, hey, I'm going to do it a different way. And that's what I hope for. And that's what you want as a big brother. Because we want what's best for y'all. And that includes Andrew. Andrew followed me to do things the hard way, because when I was, at a certain age, I wasn't the best big brother that I was. I was making bad decisions, and Andrew wasn't making those decisions, but Andrew wants to follow the big brother. And then Andrew started getting in trouble. And it was, I have some type of like guilt for that, because he was a good student in school. He was smart. He did everything that he was supposed to, and then I was not. And then all of a sudden he kind of just, hey, that's big bro, I'm going to follow him. And, he made some dumb decisions, and I can't take credit for all of them, but I can take, some of that maybe I should have been better. And so with you guys being a lot younger than me, I have a redo, right? Don't do exactly like me. Learn the good stuff, and the hard stuff that I've struggled with, just try to do better than I did. You know what I mean? So,
and can you elaborate a little bit more on what the hard way is?
Yeah, I didn't take education very seriously, and I think that's kind of where it started. When I was in high school, I don't really know if I have any really good memories, because I was a knucklehead. I was a troublemaker. I was one of those dudes. And I ended up getting in trouble to where I had to go to a different school, and finally got the notion that I needed to grow up, and I ended up graduating. Went to college for a little bit and stuff, and things like that. But throughout my whole high school, time, there's really not any good positive memories that are consistent, because I decided to be stupid. And then, meeting my wife is absolutely one of the best days of my life. My wife and I have known each other since we were 10. And we were friends throughout all these schools and stuff. And even before we were in middle school, high school, my wife used to tell me, you need to shut up and do your work. And she would tell me that, and I wouldn't do it because I was just not me, Then we found each other at 25 years old, and that's when we started building what we have now, 4 kids, a marriage. And when we did get married, when we started having kids, I wasn't set financially. Being a dad is the first thing that you do is you think about, how do I provide for my family? And I was a provider, but we struggled a lot financially. My wife was amazing because she got us through a lot of things that I couldn't, and luckily I had her at my side. But so that's why I say the hard stuff is, before you have kids, make sure at least try to make sure you're in a good financial state, building the business that you're building, you moving up in your career. Those are the things that you want. So that way, when your child does come, or you take a wife, they don't have to worry. You don't have to worry, how am I going to provide? I have this. I've been providing for myself. I know I can provide for them. And so, you're going to find yourself in some hardships no matter what you do. But I did struggle. And even to this day, I am struggling still. But I'm learning. I've learned a lot throughout that time. And it's just a part of my journey. That's what I think of it. Nothing's ever came easy to my wife and I. But that's something that's humbled me, is because I've had to work a little bit harder than maybe the guy next to me. You know what I mean? So,
and just like a small little testament to what he said, right? I think it was key of what he said, in the sense of, you can learn some things from me that are good, but you can also learn things from me that you shouldn't do. Like you said with our brother Andrew, they were much closer in age, so Andrew kind of followed in his footsteps with some things, right? I was much younger than both of them, 11 and 9 years. So, and he knows this, I got to see what I shouldn't do when it came to what they did. You know, I think, he wouldn't change his path for the world, right? With his wife, his kids, things like that. But, I think him and his wife can both say, like, maybe they would have done it a little differently, now knowing what they have, like, having kids younger, both of them, I was an uncle when I was 9 years old, basically, so I've been an uncle my whole life. His 4 kids, my other brother's 4 kids. And, it's not that, like, I am judging their path. I just saw how much they struggled, and so I didn't want to go down the same path that they did, respectfully. Obviously I'm on a much different path. I'm 27. I do have a girlfriend. Her and I are we're going to be moving out of the state here in a couple months, and it's going to be a fun new adventure for us, right? But we don't have kids right now. We don't have, and we want to do this right now because we may love it. We may never leave. Or, we may not like it, but hey, at least we gave it a shot. We both have that opportunity to try to do that. Whereas, not to, again, when it came to Wedo and our other brother, they didn't really have that opportunity to just pack up and leave if they wanted to, because I'm sure him and his wife would have loved to try to travel somewhere that, hey, let's give this a shot. We may like it,
Yeah.
But, different circumstances happened. And, again, I don't think they would change that for the world. They're happy with, what they have and what they've built. But I've kind of taken a different approach to where I didn't get someone pregnant young. I didn't go from girl to girl, this, doing that. I've kind of, just kind of done my own thing. And, now I have a beautiful girlfriend. Her and I, have been doing really good. And this is something we both want to do. And, I luckily have some people out there that I know, as far as, family wise. So it's going to be a big adjustment for me. But at the same time, like, I have that opportunity to do it because, like, we're not married yet. We don't have kids yet. We haven't bought a house yet or anything, so this is a good opportunity for us to test, first off, our relationship, but also, test, like, hey, like, is our life out there or is it back out here? But I have always had that notion of, what, I want to do something bigger. I love New Mexico. New Mexico is always a home. But I've always, as I've traveled throughout my life, I'm like, I would love to, like, maybe try something else, It's always kind of been in my mind, and I feel like I've set myself up for that. And, we've talked about it, we want it to work, but if it don't, at least we can say that we tried, and we know that, we can come back here. We still have a foundation. We can build from out here as well. So I think it's a good testament to what he said in the sense of you can learn and I've learned great things from him too. It's not that, like, I've just learned off of his mistakes. I've also learned great things, but I think it comes full circle to where I've also learned, obviously I was a lot younger. And then as I was growing up, and I realized, I'm like, what? I'm not going to do it the way that they did it. You know what I'm saying? So I was blessed to have that, I guess, that age gap a little bit, because if I was closer in age, who knows what I would have done, to be honest. I can't ever say what I would have done, but I was blessed to kind of see and he knows this as well. I've told him this many times, and same thing from my dad, right? Like, my dad was so tough on us growing up, loving, but tough. And I tell him to this day, I'm like, you know what? I get it now. Like, I understand now, because, growing up, I think all 3 of us butted heads with my dad, them more, but I also butted heads because he was so tough on us. Like, oh, my friends are going and doing this. My dad's like, no, you can't go and do that. You can't do it. And, as a teenager, you want to party, you want to go out and do stuff with your friends. And my dad kind of limited that for me. And then once I turned 18, I'm not going to lie, I went through a little rebellious stage of just 1 year. I was going out, I was just partying, doing this, doing that, trying all kinds of different stuff. And after that year, I started realizing the environment I was putting myself in, and it was dangerous. Like, there were some dangerous things that, I was seeing. Like, we all know how Albuquerque can be. I was going to parties out in Albuquerque. Things are getting shot up. People are, it was just crazy, man. And I was just like, this is not what I want to do. And as I got into my 20s, I'm like, I realized why my dad was the way I was, because, unfortunately, I think we're both blessed to see like, okay, we get it. Not a lot of people have that, to where they think like, oh, they have to do this, they have to do that, and they fall in with the wrong crowd, and it's unfortunate. It really is. And I just think we were blessed to have that capability of. It's kind of funny to think about, because I always tell my dad now, I'm just like, you know what, man, like I get why you were the way you were. It took me a long time to realize that, but I get it now. And because back then all I used to think was my dad's such a hard ass. He's so mean. Like, I'm like, why is he being like this? Why is he so tough on us? And, I think it's something I've learned even from him now. I think, he's a loving guy, loving father, but he is tough and when he has to be. And I think it's based off of his life experiences, right? He doesn't want, his kids to fall down the path that he did. So I think it's just a learning curve. And as hopefully in the future I become a parent, I think I'm going to take that from him, from my dad, that, your kids are your kids. And my dad's always said, like, you know what, we can be friends. I'll always be your dad. He's like, but we can be friends when you're an adult. I'll still always give you advice. He's like, but I can't tell you what to do once you're an adult. He's like, but when you're under my care, you're going to do things my way. And I guess I understand that now. I had a whole different perspective of that. And it took me up until like, honestly, 2021, I think, and to really realize that. I'm like, oh, okay, I see why he did what he did. Because before then I was just rebellious and I was just doing different things. And I'm just like, he's such a hard ass. So once I got out of now I'm 18, I can do what I want. I think I had a year of like just being dumb, but luckily, because the way I was raised, I kind of snapped out of that. I just think it's a good, lesson for that. Sorry, I tend to ramble, but
No, you're good, dude. Yeah. And what about you, man? Like, how much of that being tough on the kids, I guess, do you bring into your fatherhood, I guess?
So one of the things that I know, I heard this the other day, is I have 3 girls, I have 1 son. And on my son, I am very, very hard on him. And it's not intentional, it's not on purpose. It is on purpose, I should say that, because in a world full of men who have this alpha male dog mentality, they want to be, the mega star, they want to be the toughest, they want to be whatever it is. Your dad is the only person, when you have a son, your dad is the only person that wants you to be a better man than him. And I want my son to be better than I am. So you're very humble and your kind words, what you say to me. Brandon's always telling me, I get told a lot, not trying to sound arrogant, that I'm a good dad, I'm a good husband. And I appreciate that. And I've worked hard for that title. But when my son grows up, I want him to be better than me. That's the only man I ever want to say, hey, he's a better man than I ever was. My dad, he was hard and he was very strict and he was very, very, very hard in his approach to parenting me. Brandon did get a lot of it, but Andrew and I believe got the most of it, and I can't say, like, I did have some falling outs with my dad because of it. Why are you so hard on me? Why are you so mean? And I used to tell, and him and I collided heads a lot, and then I started making bad decisions. And really what that was me being stupid. There's no reason for me to make those decisions, right? I put so much stress on my mom and my dad and Andrew and Brandon because of my decision. It affected everybody. And my dad used to do the only thing that he knew how was to be hard on me and tell me I couldn't go to friends' houses. And I hated that. But when I look back, I didn't deserve it. I didn't do the right things. And my dad is just being a dad. And so the approach that I take with my son is, and I'm not saying anything negative about my dad. But when we were growing up, my dad wasn't a hugger. You know, he didn't walk up to us and kiss us on our forehead. That wasn't his style, and that's okay. That's him. Now, you know, he's a big softy, but that wasn't his style. And so with my son, the approach that I take is I'm hard on you, but I will walk up to you and I'll tell you, I'll give you a hug and say, hey, I love you. You know, so there's things that I've learned from my dad. And again, I've taken some of that, but then there's things that I've learned from him that I do differently. So it's that same approach of being a big brother, you know. And the conversation I have with my dad now that I'm a father of 4 and I'm going through teenage years and stuff, you know, with my kids, he was right. He was right the whole time, you know. But me as I just didn't see it. And I didn't want to see it. And now that I'm going through those experiences, I see it. And I've apologized to them for it, but I can't take it back, unfortunately. And I just hope, you know, because I've been real honest with my kids about what I've done. I just want them to not do that. I want them to be better students than I was in school and make better decisions, you know, hang around with the right kind of people. And so we'll see, you know, are they going to give me stress and make me lose my hair faster than I want to? Absolutely. That's just part of being a parent. But I'm hoping that with my honesty and everything with them of what I've done, that they'll say, okay, yeah, maybe I don't want to be like that at that age. You know, I want to be, and that's what you want. You want them to be better versions of you. And my son is on pace to be a way better man than I will ever be. And I'm very hopeful for that. So
I'll be interested to see what you think about this, B. But to me, if there's one thing that you can say about Wedo, is that he's a good dad. Like, I don't know. Like, I've always thought that you're a good dad. You're a family man. You like, from my perspective, you care. The thing that you care about the most is probably your wife and kids. You know.
I do.
Would that be something we could say about Wedo, right? I mean,
absolutely. We used to make a joke about him, just like, no, like, this guy's a great dude, man. Like I said, like, one thing I've admired about him is, you know, like he said, he's done some stuff where he was just being a knucklehead. He was just being rebellious and not. One thing I can give praise to this guy is, like, even just with me as a little brother, he never changed his demeanor or acted that way towards me. So I've always appreciated that about him. And then I know we'd always, like, you know, we want to go play football or we want to go play basketball, like, you know, as we're growing up. And then as, you know, he started having kids. And then once he had his 4th, we're like, oh, okay, father of 4, you're busy. We get it. You're a father of 4. We get it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Hey, can the father of 4 come play football? And, like, you know, it's just, you know, giving him crap about it, you know, but. Yeah. No, for real. Like, I definitely, I agree with you 100%. Not even just, you know, a great dad, just a great man. You know, I think I look up. My dad obviously is one person I look up to, but him as well. You know, Wedo will be the first one to say, and he's already admitted it, where, you know, he's done some things in his life that he is not proud of, and he wishes he can take back. But you know what? Like, and my dad's the same way. My dad, you know, such a philosophical guy now, such a nice, humble man, right? And he's in his 50s, but he'll tell you when he was even my age, a lot of stuff that he did that he wished that he could take back. A lot of stuff that he knows that he did wrong, right? And I look up to them, though, right? Because they know they can acknowledge in that, and they're humble about it. But the people that they are now is what counts, right? Like, I feel like sometimes it just, for different people, it takes people maybe up into their 30 to really realize, oh, okay, like, I got this. Sometimes it can take people up to their 50s, up into their 70s. It just takes longer for some people. I don't think there's no time map for life until where we really figure it out, right? I feel like we're always still trying to figure it out, whether it's, you know, bills, whether it's a job, whether it's a house. I feel like we're always trying to figure it out, but it does take some people longer to kind of snap out of the, okay, like, I understand. Like, or it's to snap to where they do understand, I guess, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But no, man, Wedo's a great dude. Our relationship has never changed, and I think that's where I've always appreciated with him is whether he was getting in trouble, whether he was trying to figure it out with his wife, whether, you know, like he said, they were struggling. His approach towards our brotherhood has never changed or wavered. And I've always appreciated that about him. And then, seeing to where, obviously I've known him my whole life. So I did see when they were struggling, I did see when they were having a hard time, and seeing where they're at now, it's amazing. Obviously, we always want to do better. I think, him and his wife can say they're still trying to be better. They're still wanting to, do more things than what they're doing now. But seeing them from when they first started to now is like, wow, like it's amazing, like that's admirable. You know what I'm saying? That's why I always tell him, my dad and him, like, specifically these two people, like, I'm like, I look up to you guys a lot because you guys have gone through things in your life. Like my dad, even in high school, he had to move out of state, like, because he was being a nuisance in high school, right? So, but like, and then a lot of the stuff that he did growing up, like, he wishes he could take back. But seeing where they're at now in their lives, I'm like, wow, like, okay, like you guys, yeah, we're all gonna do stuff that we're not proud of, but if we can overcome those things, you know what? Those are real men right there. Men who can eat up like you, who can be humble enough to admit their faults and admit their mistakes and be willing to change it for their family. I'm like, okay, like that's something I want to be. Obviously, I'm on a much different path than my dad and him, but that's something I want to strive to be. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my approach on that, to be honest.
I definitely agree. That's something I want to be as well. And like we both just kind of clarified the whole little being a good father type thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dudes out there that just like aren't. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of dads out there that have kids and they just the kids and the wife. None of that's top priority. And like and I'm not trying to judge it in some type of, because everybody's got their reasons for what they do and stuff. Right. But like a lot of people don't stick around for the kids. A lot of people. Even if they do, a lot of people, like, it's not their top priority. You know what I mean? Like, so what is it about you, Wedo, you think, that makes the family life, like, the thing for you? Like, what is it about you that makes that so important?
Let me start off by saying this. I, since, about 18, 19 is when I started to try to really turn my life around. And within that time, you always, again, you want to find your calling, right? Your calling is the fitness world. With the music, it went through you guys, right? Everybody, you kind of feel like you're meant to be something, right? You're meant to be whatever it is in life. And from a young age, I always kind of felt like I was meant to be a dad. That's something that's been a part of me even before I started getting in trouble. But I always felt like I was going to be a dad, and I was meant to be. And so answering your question, I love being a dad more than anything. My wife and I, we have such a great foundation, but being a dad is what I really love to do. I have 4 kids, so it's a busy time. I coach, I practice, whatever it takes for them to play, that's what I do for their sports. Anything that I can do, I thoroughly enjoy being a dad, and I'm at every practice. I'm at every game. I'm at every event for the sports, for school. And, my oldest is 14. Within that time, I could probably count I can count one hand where I've missed something significant in their lives, and that's between all 4 of them. I'm there as if I can be there, I will. If I can make it work, I will. And that's because I had that as a youngin. I know Brandon's brought it up, in your guys' interview. Andrew and I don't share the same dad with him biologically. But my dad, who I consider my dad, is, I met him at 3 years old, and he's been in my life. I'm 38. He's been in my life for 35 years. So, he stayed when he didn't have to, and he was young when I met him. I can't imagine what he went through with 2 kids, but he stayed, and I really couldn't think of any other. Leaving was never an option for me. Not being in my child's life was just never part of that never even entered my brain. Um, I am a big family man. My wife and my kids mean the absolute most to me. I love my parents. I love my brothers. And my thing is I don't have a big circle. I really don't. I'm one of those people that don't have one. But if I bring you into my circle, I will love you and I will protect you as much as I can. I will stay loyal to you, and you're part of that group. You know what I mean? And that's why, at the beginning we said how we've gelled so, often, and how I look at you is you're not Adam, you're family. You're a little brother to me. You call me, I'm there. No questions. Hey, what do I need help? It's just the same thing for him. He calls me, what do I need you? Okay, cool. Andrew called me, I'm there. It's just who I am. And it's what I've done. I mean, it's just how we were brought up. My mom and dad raised us to be brothers. And, there's things that happen to where we may not talk for a little bit. We may not get along at times. But in the end, it's really all about family. And you don't get by without family. And I'm talking real family. You know what I mean? People that are your ride or dice. And I have that. And so I'm very grateful.
I like that a lot, man. And there's one question, and if you're not comfortable talking about this, you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I wanted to talk about is I remember you, and I haven't gotten like the complete full story yet. I remember you telling me that one day at church there was a bit of a health scare for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just, if you're willing to, I'd like for you to tell that story and elaborate a little bit on what effect that had on you as a person and the direction that your life went.
Yeah. I actually have some plans to elaborate on this, honestly. But November 2017, my wife and we had 3 kids at the time. I didn't have my youngest at that time. We went to church with my parents, and we were in church, and this was a church that was far away from where my parents were living. It was about a good 45 minutes from where they were living. So that morning, my wife was like, we need to go to church with mom and dad. And I was like, I don't want to go. I just didn't want to go. And she's like, no, we need to go. Let's go. So my wife, made me go. And we're doing the praising, which is the songs and stuff. And I remember I was up and I was kind of just lip singing, And then last thing I remember is I pulled my wife down with me and I leaned on her and I said, I don't feel good. And that's really all I remember. I woke up. I was in a hospital bed. And the 2 people that I remember going back right away was Andrew, my other brother. And I don't know what I was on because I just remember seeing them. I remember hearing a little bit of words, but I don't remember reacting. I don't remember if I was able to respond. I saw Andrew first, and Andrew came, and he's crying. And I remember him saying, I'll take care of Melissa and the kids. Don't worry. I remember him saying that to me. And a little bit later, he came, and he's crying, and he's like, I'm here. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm here now. I'll take care of the kids, and stuff. And went back to sleep or something. And I woke up and I was in my own room, and my mom and my wife were there. And they didn't want to tell me what was happening. They didn't want to tell me exactly, but obviously I'm in the hospital. I don't remember much. And it wasn't until one uncle, this is how I knew something crazy was happening, because I was able to respond. My uncle walked into the room, and I've always had a great relationship with him. But, he's not a prayer. He doesn't pray. He doesn't go to church. And he doesn't say, I love you. That's just not his personality. But he sat there and he prayed. He held my hand and he prayed. And he told me, he goes, "I love you." And so he walked out, and my wife and my mom walked in, and at that point I knew something was going on. And I asked him what happened, because he just told me he loved me. Like, that's something that just doesn't happen. And it sounds funny to say, but that's just, if you get to know my uncle, that's him, right? So the final diagnosis was I had a heart attack, and I went into cardiac arrest. How I've been told the story goes is my wife remembers me pulling her down, saying I don't feel good, and then I just fainted and I went limp. She called for my mom and dad. My dad lifted me up out of the seat and laid me down in the middle of the aisle. And this is when the pastor started giving, talking to the church and stuff. And I believe the pastor had thought someone had just fainted. He's going to continue talking. Well, then they realized that I didn't have a pulse. I wasn't breathing. So luckily they have a great medical response team. They came, they started doing CPR. They couldn't get me to breathe. They cut my shirt open, and once they did that, the pastor stopped because he realized something serious was happening. So him and the entire church were putting our hands over me as I laid in the aisle. And I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional about it. And I wasn't breathing. And I don't know if I passed, but yeah, I ended up going into cardiac arrest and things like that. And so that's almost 10 years. And I wouldn't have my youngest kid if it wasn't for that. One of the biggest blessings is I actually got to meet the husband and wife. They were EMTs. They're the ones that worked on me and did the what is that shock? Yeah, they had to do that, and they got me when the ambulance finally came. They got me to at least feel something coming through, like I was breathing or a pulse. If it wasn't for them, I probably would have died. If it wasn't for my wife convincing me to go to church, an ambulance wouldn't have gotten me to the hospital in time, and I would have died there. So I got to meet them, and I got to thank them for saving my life, because that's what they did. So now I have this thing. If you ever see me playing a sport or doing anything, my jersey number reads number 1. And there's a reason, because someone that goes into cardiac arrest and comes out with no nothing else wrong with them, and they make a full recovery, is less than 1%. And I am 1%. I'm less than 1% of one of those people. And that's just what I've been told. So, I don't want to get, biblical or anything, but I feel like God saved me for a reason, and I want to share my story. But I don't want to share it to gain, views or to make, I want to share it in hopes that, because I was literally saved. It was a scary time for me, but I can't imagine my family seeing me like that, so that was a really, really trying time, but I came through it. I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure out that purpose on why I was saved, but being a good person, I know, is why, one of the reasons why. So for me, if you're family to me, I love you hard, and I love you with loyalty, and I won't stop being there for you if you need me. You know what I mean? And so I think that's one of the reasons. But I am hoping to try and share my story with other people. And I have a lot to say, because I've been through. I did the troublemaking past. I recovered from that. The heart attack, I had it. I recovered from that. I think I have a lot to say, and I think I can inspire, and that's really what I want to do. I want to inspire somebody that maybe is struggling, or maybe that's had a medical emergency like that, to show that you can overcome it. It's hard. It's not easy, but so yeah, that's, and I don't know if you've never heard that full story, but definitely one of the worst times of my life, for sure. You know what I mean? And my wife, telling me stories about it, what she witnessed. I can't imagine how she felt. But luckily, they reacted really quick, and they got me. They did what they had to do and stuff, and so again, I was saved. So I'm very grateful for that.
I think to like shortly elaborate, I think what they said was only 15% of the people live with the type of severe heart attack that he had, and under 1% live a normal life. And again, if he wouldn't have told this, like, in this podcast here, no one would have ever known that this man has had a heart attack before. This man still to this day, he says he's getting older, but we'll all go play football, we'll all go play sports, basketball. It's just always what we've done. Play volleyball, and you can never tell that this man had a heart attack. So I believe that's what the thing was said, just because I heard him talking about that, just to kind of elaborate on that.
And B, did you notice like a shift in him after that? Or I mean, I know it's like a long time ago and stuff, but did you notice a shift in Wedo as a person from that point forward, or was it?
No, for sure. It's kind of crazy. So that day that they went, I was supposed to go. And again, this was during the phase when I was 18, 19 years old, kind of being rebellious, partying a little bit. So I stayed out late that night. And I just remember my mom waking me up in the morning. She's like, "Are you going to come with us?" And normally that's the thing. I would still party, but I'd still go. I normally still go most of the time. And it's kind of, I'm 18, yes, but I'm still living in their house. So, kind of follow the rules, So, but that morning I was like, "Mom, like, I'm just really not feeling it." I don't know why, like, because I didn't mind going to church, but I really wasn't feeling it at that time. That specific day, I don't know why, I just wasn't feeling it. And I guess, like you said, like, I can't imagine how I would have reacted if I was there and saw that, I just remember my mom, calling me. I'm at the house, I'm finally up and things like that. And it happened, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I almost thought, I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, he was just fine, like, because I believe they spent the night before, and then they all went to church. I was like, no, like, I just talked to him, like, what the heck's going on? And, what were you, 29 at the time? 29, but I believe during that time, like Wedo said, him and his wife were still, they're going through some struggles as far as, like, just trying to figure it out and going through things. I really think he took a big step in, like he said, providing for his family. He's always known that he's had it. He's always known that, he had to do it. But I think, like he said, his purpose is to be a dad. And it's not that he never took being a dad seriously then, but I think you just saw a different level of him and the sense of trying to get things in order. Like, we need to make sure we're stable. We need to make sure we're doing this. And, to the point where we're not struggling so much. You know what I'm saying? I think I saw a big shift in him doing that. Because he did get a second chance at life. Basically, this man had basically died from what I heard. And, I only saw him in the hospital, unfortunately, or honestly, fortunately. I didn't want to see what happened to him, to be honest. I'm glad I didn't. I'm not trying to say, like, because, I'm not like the biggest holy roller, and I'm not saying, like, I'm happy that I didn't go to church, but that day specifically, I'm happy I did not go to church, because I don't know how I would have reacted seeing my brother just go limp like that, So, but no, I've definitely seen a shift in him ever since that. And he has said, like, he does take with a lot of pride, like, I am that 1%, he doesn't, I don't think he takes advantage of that. Someone can look over and like, oh yeah, I'm alive, who cares? But, like he said, he wants to explain his story. He wants to, I think he can inspire a lot of people, because, he used to have a couple favorite numbers, like, when we were playing things, but even if it's just playing the little game, playing 2K, or like just playing any type of sports, and he's had jerseys since then, like, it's always number one, and I can respect that for sure. Like, I will never try to take number one from him, that has such a deeper meaning to him. So, but as far as, like, to get back to your question overall, yes, I think during that time they were getting better, but they were still struggling, just with some things. And once, he was, first we had to worry about his health, obviously, and he had to get back to a point where he was strong enough to, build up and do what he can do. But as he got stronger and better, like, you just saw a complete different shift in him. They were able to move into a good place. And I think just from there, they really started building more and more and more. So I definitely think, you know, he's not the type of guy who took it like, oh, like, okay, I'm alive, thank God. No, like he really realized, like, dang, like I could have died. I'm 1%. Like I'm not supposed to be here, and he is. So I think he's taken full advantage of his opportunity. You know, and that's my testimony on that in the sense of, you know, he's doing what he has to do, and I think it made him a stronger man. You know, he is a big softy. He really is. But, you know, growing up, you know, we give him crap, bro, because, like, he does, like, you know, when he was, you know, being rebellious things, he's like, oh, I'm the tough guy, you know, I'm this, I'm that. And it's been beautiful to kind of see, like, you know, we still give him crap because he still has that demeanor of, if you don't know this guy, like you look at him and I feel like I think you said that, right? Like when you first meet him and he's not smiling, he's kind of has like that intimidating type of look to him. You know, he's just like.
And just so we're clear, I'm about 5'4" on a good day, okay?
But no, like he has like an intimidating look to him, like, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
But like, and he used to be a lot like that younger wise, you know, like, so he wasn't as nice as he is now, and he'll even admit that. But now, like, you know, you get to know him, man, it's like the biggest softie, you know. And like it's funny, and it's actually like nice to see, because, you know, growing up, him and my dad, you know, my dad was like you said, my dad was the type of person to not cry. Like I've never seen my dad cry up until like I was like 15, 16 years old. And now my dad is like the biggest, not the biggest crybaby, but man, that guy can get emotional. And I think it taught me, like, him too. And like, I'm not gonna lie, like one thing I took from them, and I think the only like thing that I wish I would have known when I was younger, and I think we touched about this a little bit on the last time I was here with you, is I saw, like, you know, the tough demeanor he had and the tough demeanor my dad had. I didn't really learn until like I was 19 that it's okay to cry. Like it's okay for a man to cry. Like, don't get me wrong, I would cry by myself all the time, but like I felt like ashamed about it. Like I was like, this is not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to cry. Like what the heck? Like, because I never saw him cry. You know, growing up, I never saw my dad cry, and I just felt like, you know what? That's what a man's supposed to do. They're supposed to toughen up. They're the man. You know. And so I think like one thing I guess I would have learned a little, and again, it takes people longer, right? It took my dad up until almost his 50s to like really become like an emotional guy, you know what I'm saying? And then Wedo is not the most emotional guy either, but you know, I think he's gotten, like, I've seen him more an emotional side from him the last, you know, 5-6 years of my life. And so luckily, you know, as I said, I'm much younger than all of them, so I guess I am still happy that I learned that. But growing up until like 19 or 20, I felt like I bottled so much stuff in, and like I can't show myself crying to the world because I'm like, that's not what I'm supposed to do. In reality, where, you know, now I'm like, honestly, bro, I can admit I can be a crybaby sometimes, you know, like, but like, and I'm not gonna just cry in front of everyone, but like it's shown me that, like, kind of like him, right? Like as I've grown up, I have a small circle myself, you know, like growing up, I'm not going to lie, like, you know, I played basketball, things like that. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be hanging out with people, partying, doing this. And like, as I've gotten older, like I'm cool with the small circle I have, you know what I'm saying? And I've realized, like, if I am feeling some type of way, I can go to them. And even if I'm crying, they're not going to sit there and judge me, you know? Like, I think you and I have even had moments where, you know, we've cried and we're like, I'm not ever sitting there like, yo, Adam, like, what the heck? Like, what? Like, get a load of this guy. Like, why are you crying, bro? Like, but same thing for you, right? Like, I feel like you've opened up to me, like, and I'm just like, you know, and I feel like we can genuinely understand each other. So I think that's a really cool part of life, and learning that, like, and I think it's just all a learning curve, man. Like, I've always been one of my big sayings is there's no time book to life. There's no book to how you're supposed to live the perfect life. No one lives a perfect life. So I think, you know, it's just the path that, you know, certain people have taken, and kind of like to touch on what you said a little bit about, you know, and I don't think it's talking down on a lot of people, but, you know, I have unfortunately seen in life where, you know, the dads or the moms aren't there for their kids, and it's kind of crazy. Like, I'm not a parent. I'm not yet. I hope to be someday, but like, I can never imagine doing that to a kid, you know, like, it's not their fault. It's not. And I feel like a lot of times, like, it's the parents, they're mad at their kid because their kid stopped them from doing this, or they stopped them for, oh, I still want to go and do this in my life. When in reality, like when you have a child, like, and he said it, you know, a lot of people say it, and I know it will. Like, you know, right now, me and my girlfriend, we don't have kids. We have a lot of freedoms. We do. Like, you know, I bowl 3 nights a week right now, dude. And, you know, if I had kids, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. Like, we were able to get him this last week to come bowl with us, but, you know, and he used to bowl a lot. But now, you know, as different priorities, like, you know, we can get him every once in a while, and that's great when we do. You know what I'm saying? As to where me, I don't have those responsibilities of kids, and I can go and do what, you know, we kind of want, you know what I'm saying? So, but I can generally say, like, I'm not a dad, but I hope when that day comes, like, I can already tell, like, I would never leave that kid behind. You know what I'm saying? And I like what he said, because I have heard that quote before, in the sense of, if I have a son, especially, you know, I want all my kids to be better than me, but honestly, like, if you have a son, I want that kid to be a better man than I ever was. You know what I'm saying? And my dad has told me that too. Like, my dad, it's kind of funny. Like, I give him crap on a lot of the things that he used to do when I was younger. But I'm starting to realize, man, like, I'm a lot more like my dad than I think.
No, for sure.
My mom always says, like, you know what, you get the best of us, because I do have the tough demeanor of my dad, like, in the sense of, like, I know what, like, you know, I know how I'm gonna raise my kids and do this and that. But my mom is, like, has the biggest heart in the world. So I feel like and my mom will say it, and it's not in a bad way. It's really not. But my mom can be a pushover. My mom, you know, people can take advantage of her. I feel like I have the heart of my mom, but I won't let people take advantage of me, because I can have the demeanor like my dad. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I have the best of both of them, thankfully. You know, because
I think that kind of goes for all three of us, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, like, my dad he's a hard worker. Our other brother Andrew is probably the hardest working person you'll ever meet. Like, the guy's he's blue collar straight, right? But he does have a big heart, and he will, you know, he'll love you hard, you know, if you're in his inner circle or something, or you need help. But he does have that work ethic like our dad. You know, same thing, you touched on it, right? I'm probably more like my mom than my dad, you know, but I do have some similarities to my dad on how I am. Like, my outer layer is pretty, you know, I don't like to say I'm pretty, like, you know, closed off, but I think I am, until you get to know me, and then I'll kind of let that guard down.
So you intimidated Adam, bro.
Yeah. You know, and that's not intentional.
No,
you know,
no.
It's not. It's just who I am, and you know, the funny thing that we used to say back in the day, we had new family members coming. They can make it past Wedo, they got a chance. But if they can make it past Wedo and Pops, then they're cool. You know what I mean? So, like, I was the first line, and then my dad was second. But yeah, you know, it's pretty cool how we are a lot like both of them, all three of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think Mom will even say it, like, she's like, don't be like me. She's like, I've let, you know, whether it's family, friends, different people in her life, like, you know, she just has the biggest heart in the world. She does. And that's one of the things I think that we love most about her. But I think sometimes, you know, she allows, not us, like, within the circle, but she's allowed people outside of the circle to kind of take advantage of her kindness. You know what I'm saying? As to where I think we've all seen that. We will be nice. We will care about you. But, like, you know, we don't like to be taken advantage of.
We have limits. Yeah.
We do have limits.
Say it. Yeah.
You know, obviously, like, I won't get too deep into it, but, you know, you know, for the producer guy that we used to get with, you know, we kind of let him into that circle. And then for him to do what he kind of did, I'm not going to even get into it, you know, but I think it hurt all of us, because, like, that's someone that we allowed in our circle, and he just kind of told us to kick rocks in a way. He just basically never talked to us again.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever hear from him again, and that's fine. You know, that's fine. I'm at peace with it. You know, so I think, but, like, you know, that hits us in a different way. You know, like, if we were to ever see him, I don't think I'd ever be the same with him. Just in the sense of, we let you into our circle, and, like, we just don't let anyone. And I think that's with any family. We don't just let a family just doesn't let some random person, like, oh, hey, like, you're part of the family, like, come here, like, you know, you obviously got to get to know him. So I just think, like, like, I don't know how he views it, but, like, for me, obviously I saw him a lot, so like I felt like taken advantage of in the sense of I told that dude a lot of things that I've never told a lot of people, like and then he just kind of one day told me kick rocks, and I'm just like, dang, that sucks. Like I generally opened up to this guy, and then it was just like, so I, like he says, like, I think he has that demeanor, but it's not a bad demeanor to have. You think you want to learn to trust the person before you can really let them in, that's only happened to us once, but obviously you've been in our circle for about a good 5-6 years now. And so that's just the difference in that situation too. We have big hearts, but we don't like to get taken advantage of. And I think we've just learned that from our parents. We've seen my mom have that big heart, but at the same time, we've also seen her getting taken advantage of. And we've seen my dad be really tough, and we like that to an extent. But even I think my dad will admit it. Growing up, he was a hard ass. He was really tough to the point where it felt like you said, like you don't really get that affection. You know what I'm saying? And I think Wedo, like you said, he has a good balance of that, right? Like he's tough on his kid, but he's also gonna still give him a hug or a kiss on the forehead, like, "Hey, I love you, son." You know what I'm saying? So I think you just learn,
and that's just with generation.
Yeah.
Again, Dad wants us to be better men than him. And you learn things, and you can take things from him, and you can make it into your own, and that's pretty much what I'm trying to do, But I mean, our dad has told us he's proud of us. He's proud of the men that we've become, and when you're a boy, your dad is probably the one person you want to be the proudest of you. It means something different, And he said that he's proud of all three of us, and I think we've done it. I think we've, figured out that line and stuff, and whether you're a great man or not, you're still going to have those struggles. You're still going to go through life. Life is still going to kick you, but we're strong enough to know, hey, we're going to get kicked down, but we're not going to stay down, and I think that's what he's most proud of. You know what I mean? So
and there's one thing I gotta say before we close this out. I love both you guys so much. I love your whole family. You guys are so cool. I really appreciate you guys inviting me into the family, into the inner circle, like you mentioned.
Absolutely.
I'm super grateful for that. I'm never going to take that for granted. Appreciate B for always being one of my best friends ever.
Yeah.
Literally since right out of high school. You're one of the guys I look up to the most in this world, man.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys both for being on the podcast episode. Any upcoming things or anything like that you guys want to talk about before we get out of here? One for me is I got a meet coming up on August 1st. Gonna see if we can get some better numbers out there and stuff. And these guys right here motivate me all the time for it and stuff. And
like I mentioned briefly, I am gonna be making a big change. I'm moving to Phoenix in September. It's gonna be different for me. I've lived out here my whole life, so. But I think, like I said earlier in the podcast, it's something that, I have the opportunity to do. I'm going to take advantage of it. Who knows? I may be back. I may never come back, to live, but I will. This will always be home. And, I think it will turn out great, man. I have high hopes for it. And what's great is even if it doesn't work, I know I have a whole foundation now here waiting for us with open arms, come back, So I think it'll be good overall, but good luck on your meet, though, man. I'm rooting for you, bro, big time. Yeah, I'm like he said, his kids and you guys, with my music, you guys are my biggest fans. I'm your biggest fan when it comes to this weightlifting stuff, bro. Anytime I hear dude, yeah, you have no idea. I'm always rooting for you, bro. I hope you know that. Even though we don't talk all the time. Obviously, life's sometimes growing up, I think one thing I've always appreciated about you is that we can not talk for a month or two, but the moment we talk, it's it never left. You know what I'm saying? I think we both realize it's never nothing personal. It's just more of, hey, sometimes we just got stuff going on, man, and we can't meet up all the time. But when we do, it's genuine. It's quality. So I think that's something I've always appreciated. But thanks for allowing me to come in, guys. Obviously I got here a little late. Sorry. So I really appreciate you letting me chat it up with you guys. It was great.
Yeah. First off, good luck. I am one of your biggest fans. If you don't have the merch, you got to cop it, okay? I always wear this shirt. He brought me some more. I'm always representing Atomic, so it's something that I believe in. But more importantly, I believe in the person that's doing it. You're probably the strongest dude I've known, and you're still the most humble. And I think that makes you an awesome person. You know what I mean? And we talked about us and stuff, about the loyalty and the love and stuff. But Adam has filled that void for us. Is he has so much love and he has so much loyalty to us that we have for him, and I think that's the most important thing. You know what I mean? So you're gonna kick ass. I see that already. If you don't mind, I give a shout out to some people.
Of course.
My wife Melissa, I love you. My children Karma, Anna, JJ, Jazzy, I love y'all. But thank you for letting me be on here and share my little bit of my story and see what happens, man.
And Jazzy, good luck in kindergarten. I know you got that close.
Yeah. we got the famous JJ right here too. The one that likes to be like Brandon. Say what's up to the camera, son. Say hi. See if Anna wants to come. See if Anna wants to say hi.
Love you.
See if Anna wants to say hi. Okay. And the other two my two teenagers are just sleeping.
Yeah.
But no.
And I'm definitely going to try to have Brandon on at least one more time before he moves away. And I mean, move away. I know you'll come back and visit.
Yeah.
That's what I try to tell everyone. Like, I swear, it's not like I'm never gonna be back. I'm gonna be here as much as I can for sure. And then, you guys, it's only 6 hours away. So if you ever, you come visit.
We might just jump in a car and just
that's what I'm saying,
together,
bro.
dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, give us a reason.
That's what's up, yeah.
You already heard me. You heard my girl. Our house is open. Y'all just come by, bro.
We're just gonna need a specific spot for Adam's supplement shakes, bro. He's gotta make plenty of room for that, and for his weights.
And last thing, thank you everybody who watches this channel. We're up to at the recording of this video, I think we have 207 subscribers. Not big yet. Really appreciate every single one of you guys that watch though. In a way, it's really cool to think that there's 207 people that actually, care enough to watch this. It's appreciate every single one of you guys. Of course, shout out to Storms Fitness. It's the gym that I operate out of. They've done so much for me. And Atomic Fitness has got the shirt repping. We got some more shirts coming soon.
Yep.
Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.